I'm Mr. Mueller, and we're going to cover what's called the alphabet 8s. So, really quick though, what I want you guys to start thinking about are more at the elementary level when kids are starting to learn how to write lowercase letters. What are some of the problems that they can run into in actually physically writing them?
Backwards.
Backwards. Second row, anybody got it? What's something else besides backwards?
Trying to stay consistent.
So even like size.
Yeah.
What's another thing?
Yeah.
That we have trouble with?
Spacing.
Spacing. Those are all really, really important things. So what the concept of the alphabet 8s are, we're going to use scaffolding, which is known. They chose the infinity sign.
No.
And this is just a scaffold. And so what they're going to do is these are kind of going to be a guide for when to actually stop writing and where to start in a space. So obviously those are the ends that you want to stay in. And here's like a midline section. Okay. So what they're doing is they're looking at what's also referred to as, we're just going to stick to these, they're looking at differences between alpha letters and the beta letters. And just for a little bit, we're going to throw in like things from what was taken from the Roman. So with these though, what I want you guys, just for time's sake, is anytime I say alpha, you guys want to think of what letter?
A.
So beta is what?
B.
And then Roman is what?
Bye.
Close. No. Anybody?
X.
L.
U.
U.
Okay. So those are going to become important later, but keep that in mind. So just as practice, so what they're going to do is typically they're also going to start the midline section as like their main key point actually starts. So like just practicing with the A is you obviously start in the center, and then you're going to go to the left, up and around. Do your best to kind of stay in the circle. And then just make sure you come back and back down. And you can kind of see how this, right? And of course their sizes range, but just try to make sure they're not going anywhere outside it. And then for like your B is just complete opposite direction. So obviously, still in the midline, but you have to go down, right? And then they want you to actually kind of circle around, but you're still kind of using that. Whole thing is definitely a scaffold to kind of work on their penmanship a little bit and to help give them, you know, guides. So it's at least an idea to help you guys get thinking of how to give them scaffolding to work on their penmanship. And then of course, U for the Rome, the same thing. Obviously the most common pattern is you're going to start in the midline, stay around here, and then, you know, kind of use that to kind of get there. And this is primarily just for lowercase, but I mean, think of ideas or whatever to kind of adapt to all types of letters. So what I want you guys to do is, you guys are going to break into pairs. So whoever you're with, or if you want to break into somebody else, and you guys can actually go practice over on this board. Okay? Yep, now. So, you guys got your pairs. Okay. So, one of you guys is going to be an instructor for right now. You guys are just going to have some key points to actually say too. Okay. So, for fun, okay, you guys are going to be making spelled words. All right. You guys got everything? Okay. So, the instructors are going to make them spell words, and you have to use some of the ones that we're talking about over there. So, like specifically, like you need to use A, but just say alpha just to kind of drive this point home. You know, because that's kind of the key thing about this too, is to learn the differences between the alpha, the beta, and where the Roman letters start. So, you're going to try at least 3 different ones, and just say, you know, alpha for A, beta, and then Roman is specifically for the U. So, think of some words and just let's start off with, at least your first word needs to start with a beta.
Okay.
Beta.
Beta. Now we write that one.
You would say like bunny, right?
Sure, let's keep it simple though. Like 3 to 4 letter words.
Well, it's just a B word. It just has to start with beta.
Mm-hmm.
Which is B. Okay. Let's do T. A.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's good. And then A.
And then when you guys are done, instructors write the actual word. You guys are close. If you guys are ready to try, you sort of just kind of kept to the same section in the middle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like how they're doing. So, okay, so let's just switch. Try it again. Get one more shot. All right, you ready? So your next set, let's start. Work in a Roman.
Oh, you said
So we're going to use what letter?
I misheard.
U. So you don't have to start with the Roman, but work it in. And like 3 to 4 letters at most.
Okay, give me a word, please.
You?
Yeah.
Uranus.
You have to spell
Oh, wait, what do you mean?
Spell it to me.
Oh,
You sort of start in the
Yeah.
center.
Oh,
The midline? Yeah. Your midline is like the key thing is like, that's your starting. So yeah, these letters can overlap.
A.
Okay. So what's your word?
N.
USA.
It's like,
Close. You always start in the center. So like, what's your word? Okay, so let's just stop for a little bit. Let's help this group out for a little bit, okay? So,
That's so awesome.
everybody else has got this. You always start in the center, right? So what's your word? Burn? Okay. So, you're going to start off with, you're going to say beta, right? So beta, and now your U is going to start in the center. They're all going to overlap. U, and then U, and then start in the center again for, nice. And then, there you go. Okay. Because it's kind of a scaffolding type thing. All right, so the last set is, let's get an alpha in that. Okay, so switch partners, and let's see what you guys got.
My turn.
you give me yours.
With the alpha in it?
An alpha.
Alpha?
So we're going to start with S.
C. E.
Alpha, yeah. Okay, P. T. And then, was it
Yep.
N?
So not the word
Alpha. No.
Okay, so this group here, what's your word?
Earth.
If you start, yeah.
Ace.
Nice.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then your guys's?
There
What's
you
your
go.
word?
Star.
And.
And the last group was your word.
Apples.
Okay.
Dang, I want to do this.
So,
Green
what is
apples.
actually kind of fun, you
Yeah.
guys work at it, so you guys can go sit down now. But, so, primarily, like, what are kind of like the key things you guys could actually take away from using this? I mean, for those who actually like this idea, stand up, and like, kind of why? Would you actually keep it exactly the same, or how would you adapt it? Would you adapt it, or what would you do with it?
I like that it's used in a bigger context on the board. I think it would be really helpful in that letter size for children to be working on the consistency of the actual circles.
Right.
And I also think it's kind of bordering on that like right brain, left brain, kind of going both
Exactly what I
direction
point
type
to.
thing.
Right.
So
Anybody from row 2 like this, or I mean, if you don't like it, why?
I don't like it because I didn't know that we were supposed to stay in the middle.
Stay in the middle. Okay. So if you do know that, would you actually use this ever or no?
Oh,
Maybe.
But I mean, you don't have to. I mean, it's kind of an idea. Like, so let's come up with like what's another like scaffolding you actually use to help with penmanship.
I babysat kids that were doing penmanship, and they had a red light, or it was more horizontal than vertical lines. So it was like a red line, a yellow line, and a green line. And so when they would come down the letter, they get to the yellow, which was a dotted line. They know they'd have to slow down, and the bottom one was red, so they'd stop. So it helped them keep inside of things, and then they had to learn the
Right.
exceptions like G's and P's and stuff. But it helped them stay like inside and make like the circle of a B like in the half
Yeah.
instead of like just like big sloppy letters.
Right.
I think another one is the strategy of having them write in the air.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they could even do it with both hands to write in the air like we did the other one. But another one, it's called TACT, I think TACT, is that you have soap bubbles, but soapy stuff on the table, and then they get to write the letters in the soapy stuff because it's soft and fun,
And like shaving cream.
like shaving cream.
In the back, what's your comment? Like it or dislike it, or
So I like
what would you do with it?
I liked it a lot. I think the best part of it is like, it's kind of telling you what center is. So like when you're at the board,
Right.
instead of like writing over here, you know to write right there. And then
Mhm.
maybe the only thing that I think is a little confusing is when you're going over it, it doesn't really help so much with how you should write the letter, because sometimes the letters get kind of skewed trying to
Right.
go in this position.
Well, I mean, kind of the key thing is just for us, just for fun, we're actually doing words. It's meant to be done individually, right? Just individual things, so you won't run into that problem. But I mean, that's something to think about on your own if you want to make work on actually doing actual words. It's just adapt. This is just an idea. I'll come to you in just a little bit. Is like your main key thing is this is like it starts off with what we had a scaffold. They just happen to use the infinity sign. But I mean, you start off with a scaffold. You had a starting point, just their middle line. And then you had spacing was the key thing too to help them stay in the lines. So I mean, you don't have to use this, but that's kind of an idea. It's like scaffold, starting point, and spacing. And then it's kind of up to you, like what direction you'd actually find them best to work at. Your comment?
One reason I like it is because in, say, a kindergarten or first grade setting, a big problem with their letters is not doing them connected. So for an A, it'd be like a circle and then a tail. This makes it a very continuous movement,
Right.
and I feel that that would be very beneficial to smaller children.
I think so too.
I was just going to say the same exact thing. My son does his A's and it drives me crazy. He makes a circle and then he throws a tail on it and picks up his pen, and I keep trying to tell him loop and then down. And
Yeah.
that was the first thing he did, and it was like that would be a really good activity for him to just get that smoothness and not picking up the pen and doing it. So yeah.
And then just the other thing too is like this too. Where does this come into play? And like you don't have to use this too. Is remember we didn't touch on this so much, but his key thing too is like they're learning the different origins of the letters from the alphabet. And so that's kind of something too that it's just nice knowledge for them to know like what letters are actually part of the alpha, the beta, and the Roman set. Is there any questions about?
Thank you.
All right.